Hey guys, it's Adrian over BHA here. I'm bringing you another video. As you already know, I've kind of been on a quest for looking for the best DVR system or software to use for like IP cameras and CCTV cameras, and I've kind of gone back and forth between different ones. I tried ZoneMinder for a while, which I feel like ZoneMinder is more for advanced users. I feel like it doesn't have as much of a nice streamlined look as some of the other software does, so I kind of went away from ZoneMinder, and I've also tried out Blue Iris, which I feel is at the other end of the spectrum compared to ZoneMinder. So you know, it looks really clean, it's really nice. To me, the downside of course is it runs on Windows. I don't really have a Windows machine that I use very often. I'd like to have something that ran on Linux if at all possible. So one of my followers here on YouTube mentioned Shinobi CCTV, which he said it was a pretty nice setup and pretty easy to use. So I thought I'd give it a shot. So here is my tutorial on how to install Shinobi CCTV on Ubuntu 16.04. So let's go ahead and run through a list of everything that we're going to cover in this video. For starters, of course, I'm going to make sure our system is up to date with all the latest updates on Ubuntu. Next, of course, I'm going to go through and install all the prerequisites that you'll need in order for Shinobi to run properly. Since Shinobi uses npm for its installer, we need to install nodejs, and npm on our system in order for it to install correctly. We will install mysql as the backend database. Once all that is done, we're ready to download and install Shinobi. And lastly, we'll go ahead and create a new account in Shinobi and get logged in and see what that looks like. So let's get started. We're going to start by making sure our system is completely up to date. So we'll do a sudo apt-get update and a sudo apt-get upgrade. And of course I'll fast forward through all that so that you're not waiting around for that to finish. Alright, now that the updates are done, we are ready to start installing all the prerequisites we'll need in order for Shinobi to install and run correctly. Now that updates are finished, we are ready to install some of the prerequisites needed for Shinobi to install and run correctly. And I'll put all this stuff in the description so you can just copy and paste it in there. But we're going to install several packages here. And I'll kind of fast forward through this so we're not waiting around for those to finish installing. Since Shinobi uses npm for its installer and some of its packages, we need to install the latest version of npm and Node and nodejs for this to work properly. So I'm going to use the curl command to download the latest source code for npm. We can do a sudo apt-get install nodejs and npm. Go ahead and say yes. We'll fast forward through this. Alright, so let's go ahead and clear cache on npm. So we'll do a sudo npm cache clear -f. And once that's done, next we're going to do a sudo npm install -g in. Basically that's installing Node. And we're going to run a sudo in stable so that everything installs correctly. Now we are ready to install MySQL. So we'll do a sudo apt-get install mysql-server. Say yes. As it goes through the install, it's going to come up and prompt you for a password. So put in the password that you're going to use for MySQL. It'll ask you to repeat it. And of course, I'll fast forward through all that so that you're not waiting around for that to finish. Now that everything else is done, we are ready to download and install Shinobi. So the way I installed it and the way that works for me is I used git. So if you don't already have git installed, you want to do a sudo apt-get install git, G-I-T. And once that is finished, we're ready to download Shinobi. So we'll do a git clone https://github.com/Shinobi CCTV/Shinobi.git. And we want to send that into a Shinobi directory. And again, I'll put all that in the description so you can just copy and paste it. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and move into the Shinobi directory. And we need to change permissions on the install files. So we'll do a sudo chmod +x install /ubuntu.sh, and then we're going to go ahead and run install /ubuntu.sh. It'll ask you several different questions. For starters, it'll ask you about installing nodejs. We've already done all that, so we're going to say no. Next, it'll prompt you. It'll ask if you want to install mariadb. We're using MySQL, so I'm going to go ahead and say no on that as well. And then it says, do you want to do the Shinobi database installation? We'll say yes. And at that point, it's going to ask you for your SQL username and password. So whenever we installed MySQL, the username was, of course, root by default, and the password is whatever you created or whatever you set up. So I'll plug mine in here. Lastly, it's going to ask you if you want to install the default data that it has set up for Shinobi, and you're just going to say yes. Once it's finished its installation, then it should show down at the bottom that everything is online and running. Assuming that it does, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. Alright, so let's go ahead and create our account for Shinobi. So by default, Shinobi runs on port 8080. So if you're on the local machine and you want to run it, of course you just put localhost port 8080. But since I'm hitting it remotely, I'm going to put the IP address of my machine and port 8080, and that will take me to the login page. But because I want to create an account for Shinobi other than the one that they use for default, alright, so in order to be able to administer our Shinobi accounts and manage everything, we put /super at the end of our browser. So it'll be, for me, it's 10.10.10.28 port 8080/super. Now what that'll do is that brings us to kind of an admin console. And they have a default username and password that they use for their administration. I'll put it in the description, but it should be something like admin@shinobi.video, and the password will just be password. Alright, so once we get logged in, like I said, you'll see the account that they already had set up by default. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one out of there because I want to create my own admin account, or account that I'm going to use for Shinobi. So we'll go over here, hit the little trash can next to the user account. Go ahead and say delete. And then now we can hit the plus symbol by the accounts, and we're going to create our own account. So you can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call mine burns@shinobi.video. And I'll go ahead and give it a password. And that should be all I need. So I can go ahead and hit save. And at the bottom there it says account created. Just to make sure that it saved everything, I'm going to go ahead and hit save under configuration. And I'm going to go ahead and restart core. This will ensure that everything is up to date with the configuration and my new user account. And now there in the logs, Shinobi is ready, so we are good to go. So here we are back at the login page. Go ahead and put in my new username that I just created, burns@shinobi.video, and my password, and then we'll go ahead and say log in. And there it is. Not much to it yet because I don't have any cameras added, but that is the base dashboard for Shinobi. Hit that plus symbol up at the top and we can start adding cameras in here and whatever else we want to do. I'm not going to get into details with that. I really just wanted to run through an install quickly on this Shinobi to see what you guys think, and let me know if you guys try it out and if you like it or not. And also, if you have any other ideas other than ZoneMinder and Shinobi and Blue Iris for DVR software, let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Let's do a quick recap of everything that we did in this video. So for starters, we ran updates on our machine to make sure it was up to date. Next, we installed all of the prerequisites needed to install and run Shinobi. After that, we went ahead and installed Node, nodejs, and npm so that we'd be able to get Shinobi installed and running correctly as well. Then we installed mysql. At that point, we were ready to download and install Shinobi. And then, of course, at the very end there, I just showed you how to create a new account in Shinobi and get logged in to see what that looked like. So that is the end of this video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. And again, if there are any videos or tutorials that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know as well in the comments, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you. Also, just a reminder, again, keep track on my GitHub page. That's github.com/burnshomeautomation. I'm trying to get my whole config out there. I know a lot of people have been asking for it, so I'm getting it out there little by little. Just bear with me. There's so much going on, it's hard to have time to do everything. But like I said, keep up with it, and I will try to get it updated fairly regularly. Otherwise, have a good day.